The great Abbott and Costello didn't realize the true impact of their comedic adventures and just how important their sketches would be. Who's on First and What's on Second were just the beginning of a line of comedy spanning why, today, tomorrow, and even as far as I don't know. Around the diamond they went, naming the players on the field, all studs from 1 through 9 in the order. But not every team can be as good as the St. Louis Wolves. Contenders can't always have perfect rosters, and that's what we're here to find out. I'm Jeremy Rose, joined alongside Justin Ciavolella and Dan Studer in this edition of Penn State Sports Day. We are going to figure out just exactly who is on first for these teams and what moves they can make to address the holes in their team. I'm going to send this over to my team of analysts. So what AL teams have gaps in their rosters, and what can they do to fix those gaps?
I don't care.
Shortstop.
Exactly. The Boston Red Sox are really in need of a shortstop. Look, Trevor Story looked great at the time of him coming over to Boston and signing the massive extension, 6 years, $140 million. At this point, with 3 years and just over $75 million left, or just under $75 million left on the deal, Boston is really regretting this. Through his first 4 seasons with the Red Sox, Trevor Story has played 168 games. In case you viewer, listener don't know, a Major League Baseball season is 162. So he's played an additional 6 in 4 seasons. Just not good. It's a 34.2% clip of games played. Not what you want for a guy eating up that much of your payroll. And when we talk about what he's actually done when he's been healthy, it's been almost nothing. A batting average under 230. 21 home runs is okay. In a season, you take 21, but when you spread it across 4 seasons, you really wouldn't take 21 for a guy who had pop in Colorado. And maybe it was the altitude up in Colorado. Who knows what it was with Trevor Story, but it hasn't been the same with Boston. He's battled a lot of injuries, more so than he did in Colorado. And you go, all right, but he could still be good. Yeah, maybe on a team that doesn't have anyone at shortstop, but the Boston Red Sox have options. In fact, they have the 12th best prospect in all of baseball, Marcelo Meyer, who's waiting now in AAA. He didn't make it up to AAA until this year. He probably should have broke spring training with the Red Sox. Hit .333 in a pretty large sample size, 36 at-bats. He had a home run. He had 11 runs batted in. Slow start through the first 2 games in Worcester, but you go back to when he was in Portland last year, hit .307, 8 home runs, 38 RBI, a spot in the lineup. I believe he was the leadoff hitter. You don't get a lot of RBI, so 38 for a Portland team that struggled offensively. It really isn't that big of a deal when you look at it that way. So for me, it's time for Boston. They've got a hole. They shouldn't with $140 million locked up there. But they've got the hole at shortstop, and the way to fix it is sitting in their farm system. They've already called up Christian Campbell. He broke camp as a second baseman. They've got problems elsewhere. Rafael Devers, at the time of this recording, 0 for 19 with 15 strikeouts. But they've already got a third baseman in Alex Bregman on the roster. They're going to probably need help at DH at some point. But the main spot, and the reason, well, there's 2 reasons I say I don't care. Well, I'm a Yankee fan, so Boston, I really couldn't care if they're not doing well. And because Boston really shouldn't care if they have to DFA him or eat money, because he's a top prospect who's making just a couple $1,000. So that is my AL team that really should be able to compete. They were my World Series pick, in fact. Ooh. And after an 0 for 4 starter, 1 for 3, I'm not so sure I agree with that anymore.
Yeah, and I mean, they addressed a lot of issues in the offseason. Going away from that third base, or going away from the shortstop spot, they pulled in Bregman. They helped out their rotation. Yet there's still a big gap in their spot. They're a win now roster. Go out, get your guy.
And he's not helping defensively, really, either.
What's really important, too, for Boston is that they didn't lose a lot of their pieces from last season. All they did really was gain. But unfortunately for Boston right now, that's their story, and they're sticking to it.
Hey.
We're going to switch now, Justin, we're going to switch now over from the East Coast to the Pacific Northwest. The Seattle Mariners are my team, guys. Now, the Seattle Mariners have one of, if not the best rotation in all of baseball. Bryce Miller, Brian Woo.
George
Logan
Kirby.
Gilbert, George Kirby when he comes back from the IL, and of course Luis Castillo, if I didn't already say him. Torn up on Brian Moo.
You also went Brian Woo and Brian Moo on 2 separate fingers.
I was wondering how I ended up with 6.
Brian Woo and Moo.
They've got.
Well, maybe we should move to the point you're actually trying to get to here.
Thank you. They got a great rotation. The same can't be said for the offense. They have a couple decent bats. Cal Raleigh, Julio Rodriguez, even Victor Robles. But offensively, guys, last year, as a team, had the second worst batting average in the league behind only the Chicago White Sox. I think they were bottom
That's
6.
tough to do.
That's hard to do. That's hard to do.
Not good company.
No. Bottom 6 in slugging percentage, and I believe 9th in on-base plus slugging. So what I think that they really need right now is a bat. I think that could get addressed really, whether that be at first base, whether that be at second base, or even at DH. Looking at those positions right now, first baseman, Rowdy Tellez. Not a horrible pick. Could there definitely be somebody better out there? I think so. Their second baseman, forgive me right now for forgetting his name, but he was the number 12 prospect for them last year. Moving over now to the DH spot right now, that's held by Mitch Garver. Last year,
7 years ago, I'd be elated.
Yeah, right? Like, if this was like good prime Minnesota Twins Mitch Garver, yeah, sure, right? But 172 batting average with a 627 OPS Mitch Garver, yeah, no. And unfortunately, for the Mariners, there's not really a lot of options to look. They're going to have to either maybe trade, but I think that there are 2 potential free agents that they could bring in to fill in 2 of those different positions. Over at first, Anthony Rizzo is still a free agent. And he really hasn't been the same since he had his whole concussion injury when he collided with Fernando Tatis at a game at Yankee Stadium. As for the designated hitter spot, guys, I don't know why this other guy hasn't signed yet. But JD Martinez, now he didn't have the best season last year with the Red Sox, but he had with the Mets, but he had a really good 2023 with the Dodgers. So who knows, maybe just another trip to the West Coast is what Martinez needs to find the groove back in his swing, and who knows, maybe even help the Mariners.
Yeah, I mean, he started out in Arizona early on in his career. Definitely an option, a guy you can go out and get. He's probably going to be better than Mitch Garver. They're probably around the same age, but you can expect probably a better clip from JD Martinez. And for a team that struck out, over 1,600 times last season, you've got a lot of answers. And when you have that great rotation, there's a lot of questions on the offensive side of how you're going to combat or how you're going to complement that crazy rotation. You don't want to lose the prime of all those five starting pitchers, or 6 if we're including Brian Wu. If we're including Brian Moo. But there's a lot of guys out there they should go out and go bolster up the rest of their lineup. J.P. Crawford at shortstop's not even a great option as well. He's a pretty streaky hitter. But we're going to switch over to that National League. Studes, we're going to start with you. What are we addressing in the NL?
All right, we're going right back from the East to the West. We're going back to the East now. Everybody loved the whole story of Grimace and Haley Welsh saving the Mets series.
Who's everyone?
Not me.
All right, anyway.
Nobody's sitting at this table enjoying the story of Haley Welsh and Grimace saving the Mets season last June when they had that really big turnaround. Right now, looking at it, sure, they've got a good right fielder in Soto, a good shortstop in Lindor, but you know what they don't have? Unlike the Mariners, they don't have a good rotation. Right now, I'm looking at Kodai Senga, and I'm looking at Sean Manaea. Outside of that, not really much. They lose Luis Severino and they lose Jose Quintana. They go to Oakland and Milwaukee, respectively. After that, Frankie Montas, who for the life of him can't stay healthy. He had 3 injuries alone, I think, in 2022. He's had one in each of the last 2 seasons. He's actually starting the year on the IL. He has a right lat strain, I believe, the same injury that Luis Heel has. And if I recall correctly, Chevy, please feel free to correct me. Heel's not only out for until like mid-May, but he won't be picking up a baseball until mid-May.
Correct.
So Montas is most likely in the same boat there.
And Montas hasn't really been healthy for a couple of years now.
No, he hasn't. I think that this Mets rotation, which now features Clay Holmes, is going to be the biggest disaster for the Mets since Bernie Madoff and the Ponzi scheme.
I mean, there's certainly some options for the Mets to go fix it. The trade deadline, I mean, it seems far away, but you can trade at any point leading up to it. There's a couple free agent pitchers left out there in the market. And speaking of pitching staffs, here in Pennsylvania, in fact, in the central of Pennsylvania, you get the Philly fans, you get the Pirate fans. Philly fans are right now, but the Pirate fans are fuming because Pirates could easily be 4-0 after a series with Miami, but you got to go to their bullpen. David Bednar, Colin Holderman. Not a good weekend whatsoever. The Pirates need back end of the bullpen pieces. Bednar had a 5.77 ERA last year and 7 blown saves. I'm shocked that the Pirates even got to that many save situations for him to blow, but it did happen. And Bednar, I mean, when you go into the offseason with a closer that can't close, you should probably find ways to fix it, just like the Yankees did with Devin Williams after, Clay Holmes was off and because they battled so long. But, you look at this, they didn't really do anything, the Pirates, for their bullpen. Picked up some pieces. Caleb Ferguson had a good opening weekend, 3 shutout innings over his 3 appearances. But Bednar, I memean, two of his 3 appearances this weekend didn't even record an inning. He's got an out. He's got an ERA of 27, 0-2 record. Miami walked off Pittsburgh in 3 of the 4 games, including twice off of Bednar, and Holderman did not set him up very well. How to fix it? I said Ferguson. I don't know if he would be a closer option. Dennis Santana, he's got a little bit more velocity in the tank. Could be a viable option. I don't think it's anything great. I look at a 40-year-old man by the name of David Robertson, has bounced around for years, but had a great year last year with Texas. At age 39, he threw over 70 innings to the tune of a 3.0 something ERA. Might have even been a 3.00. I mean, that's incredible. And you know it's still in there. It's going to be a cheap deal. I think the Pirates could want him. They rarely open their wallet, and it would be a cheap deal. But I feel like Robertson's probably going to go for a contender. I think Pittsburgh can be a contender. Don't call me crazy here. I think they've got a rotation to contend. They've got some veterans in their offensive lineup. They've got some young guys like O'Neal Cruz who are going to be good players, good stars for years to go. But they could be a contender. David Robertson, I don't think he'll want to go to Pittsburgh. But that would be, if I'm a general manager, I'm picking up the phone. I'm going, hey, David, I know this is year like 1,000 for you in the MLB, and you probably want to go back to New York, but you can't. How about you come help me in Pittsburgh?
Yeah, absolutely. And for a last name of Holderman, he sure doesn't live up to it. He wouldn't know how to hold anything. He can't hold a lead, can't hold a tie game, nothing in the Cubs.
Well, tomorrow is on the mound in the famous skit,
course, yeah.
and every time these two come out, Pirates fans are ready to turn it over to tomorrow.
Well, they go home and come back tomorrow. Yeah, absolutely.
Just for another loss.
Yeah, exactly.
Also on that phone call with the general manager is, hey, David, we also don't like giving out contracts to free agents that are more than 1 year. You're 40.
Yeah.
This is a win-win situation for the both of us.
Yeah, and they're in a week NL Central with a lot of competition, a lot of moving parts. Nobody's sure is going to come out of that division. Nobody's sure is going to come out of the AL Central as well. A whole lot of question marks surrounding these teams that we have an entire season to come out and address. Whether it be yesterday, tomorrow, or even I don't care, lining up in the field for these rosters come playoff time, one thing is for sure. The best team all around will come out on top. It might take a hot streak from Rajai Davis or an electric performance from Tommy Edman, but the World Series in October will be impacted by whoever shows up when the lights are the brightest. The MLB season is just underway, and we will have more coverage to close out the semester as the summer nears. For Justin Ciavolella and Dan Studer, I'm Jeremy Rose. Keep up with our socials for more, and have a great night.
Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in to this edition of Penn State Sports Night.
For more content like this and so much more, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and X. For everyone here at Penn State Sports Night,
We are
Penn State Sports Night.